Shalom. I want to start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect who are continuing to fight and teach this thing of ours in truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Manatazak with GMS Ancient of Days in Los Angeles, currently teaching with the Akim in Sherman Oaks. And today, through the Spirit, I want to get into a lesson that's titled Sedition on the Rise. Okay? Sedition on the rise. Now, just to give you a little context of what this lesson is going to be about in the Spirit, I'm going to get the definition of sedition. And Lord willing, the lesson that follows is edifying to the hopeful elect. This is the definition of sedition. It says, a crime involving speech, writing, or actions intended to incite rebellion or resistance against lawful authority, with the goal of disrupting or overthrowing the government. Okay? Now, the reason I brought this out through the Spirit is because you have a lot of sedition, okay, a lot of civil unrest taking place in Babylon. Okay, it was yesterday, I believe, where the American activist, I believe his name is Charles Kirk, was murdered on live TV while giving one of his debates. I believe this took place in Utah. Okay, he's a very outspoken activist, opinionated, but it's getting to the point now where these Egyptians are going to start turning against Egyptians, because this took place in a primarily Edomite state. Okay, and it was an Edomite that was targeted. Okay, and it was an Edomite that was taken out. You even had Donald Trump come in and give his own professional statement as the president, showing you how serious this is. And mind you, this took place on the eve of one of the greatest terrorist attacks known to man. Okay, 9/11. Right, on the eve of 9/11. Now here you have another so-called terror attack. Okay, as well as to go with the school shootings that have taken place. So it's a lot of things that are taking place all at once through the Spirit. And notice, this is all happening after the eclipse just a couple of days ago, and we have another one coming in 2 weeks, a full moon or a blood moon eclipse, I believe, because I know there was two in September, and all this is leading into the fall months, which go heavily into the left-handed wickedness of Esau Edom and all of his sorceries that he puts against Jacob. So it's a lot of things that are happening in the Spirit, and Yahweh Shai is definitely moving. And as you can see, it's a time of great judgment for us Israelites, who pursuant to the scriptures and according to prophecy, are you so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans. Now is the time for us to wake up out of sleep. Okay, now like never before. Because you do not want to be caught up in the wrath of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, especially us that have children that are going to these school systems and growing up in one of the most wicked societies. Okay, we need deliverance. We need help. Okay, and we're going to begin through the Spirit in the book of Matthew, chapter 24. And we all know that this is one of the go-to chapters when we're describing the things that are going to take place in the last times, the times we're living in now, because this is primarily Yahweh Shai warning of the future to come. So this is Matthew 24. We're going to begin at verse 12. This is red letter. It says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Okay, and iniquity is sin. So Yahweh Shai is basically letting you know that in the end times, because sin is going to be left unchecked and it's going to run rampant, the result of that, okay, is the love of many is going to wax cold. Now we know ultimately love is an action, not an emotion, and that action is keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. But if we're living in a society that is run by Esau Edom, who is the wicked, then you should already come to the conclusion that the way of this world and the way this society runs is going to be adverse to what the scriptures tell you. And the result is death, decay, suffering. That's why the scriptures reiterate, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And you can see, from the Israelite to the heathen alike, people are in a major state of mourning. Okay? So, Yahweh Shai prophesied that in the last days, sin and wickedness would increase. And we can see that it's at an all-time high. And it's because of this, okay, that the majority of the people, especially here in Babylon the Great, are going to lack compassion for one another. Meaning what? No brotherly love, just selfishness and betrayal. Okay, and these are the times that we're entering into because of the sedition, because of the civil unrest. Okay, people are going to start to feel like they're in a corner, and they're going to have to take action into their own hands. Okay, just look at today. Okay, when it comes to the state of the world and how it's governed, you have mothers that are getting abortions at an all-time high, and those that do decide to carry the kid to term, a lot of them are just ending up leaving them in dumpsters. This is a true story. You got fathers so stressed about paying bills that they're unaliving their whole families and then themselves to free themselves from the burden of this captivity and this inflation. You have neighbors that are ignoring each other. You got just different sufferings on an all-time high. And a lot of that is due to social media. Why? Because it's full of self-love, flexing, and ultimately vanity. There's no compassion. It's just doom scrolling, dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit, to the point where you become like a zombie. This is the world that we're living in. Let's get 2 Timothy 3, beginning at the top. 2 Timothy chapter 3. And the headline reads, Paul warns of stressful times. It says, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. Okay, if this doesn't describe the temperament of the people in America, especially Babylon the Great, then I don't know what to tell you. Verse 3. Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. From such stay away. And that's a clear warning. Okay, so even Apostle Paul at this time, okay, when he's talking about the stressful times ahead, you could liken that unto the times that we're about to enter into as Israelites, a time like never before, Jacob's trouble. Okay, so Apostle Paul is basically saying the same thing that Yahweh Shai warned about in the last days, about people only caring about themselves. Okay, when it talks about without natural affection. Okay. Where's that at? In verse 3, 2 Timothy 3 and 3. Without natural affection. That's heavy. Because when you go into that basically means you're going to have no love of family and no care for your neighbor. Those that were once in your tight circle, you're going to disregard. And the scriptures speak about that. Neighbor turning against neighbor. Because you got a lot of people up in arms about this assassination of Charles Kirk. Okay? Especially in the Edomite community. Let's get Isaiah 19 and 2. Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2, the headline reads, Egypt will be punished. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. The modern day Egyptians are these Babylonians, the so-called left-wing Edomites and right-wing Edomites. Even though they're just two wings of the same bird, you people are being played like puppets to really think that the Democrats and the Republicans are actually going against each other when there's a conglomerate of upper echelon businessmen that actually run this country like a business. Okay, that's what it is. When you look at Trump, they see him as the most powerful man on the earth, but that's not the truth. Trump is just a figurehead for this business, this company that is called America. Okay. Continuing on, Isaiah 19:2, it says, "And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptians, and they shall fight, everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." Okay, whether it was MK Ultra, whether it was a setup, a conspiracy, what have you, it was an Edomite that took out that Edomite the other day. Okay, in Edomite country. So you can start to see the curses lifting onto our nation, where their eye shall be evil towards their brother. Slowly but surely, you can liken the curses coming onto our enemy, which is another sure evident token of their downfall and our eventual rise. Okay? Let's get Revelations 11:8, just to prove spiritual Egypt. Revelations 11, chapter 8, and it says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified." Okay, our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Bashem Ashai, being crucified. Okay, we know he wasn't literally crucified here on the uttermost part of the earth, here in Babylon, but that just basically means everything pertaining to the Lord in truth and sincerity has been X'd out. Okay, everything that Yahweh Bashem Ashai stands for. His actual look, the philosophies of the scriptures has been perverted and hidden by Esau Edom, and that took place mainly here in Babylon the Great, which is spiritually Sodom and spiritually Egypt, that place of bondage. Okay, let's get a 2 Ezra chapter 15, beginning of verse 15 in the Apocrypha. Let's see, 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 15, and it reads, actually, I'll begin to verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." Woe means destruction. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands." Okay, letting you know that this civil unrest is prophesied to take place. And this event that just happened the other day could be the catalyst, okay, to that. We've already had numerous attempted assassinations on Donald Trump. Now you have these other well-known figureheads being popped. Okay, this lets you know that the things that we're involved in are very serious. That's why Elder Malcolm oftentimes warns the congregation that the men of the hopeful elect are constantly hazarding their lives and their freedoms to bring this word out, because it's true. When we're out on the highways and hedges, we're out in the open, quote unquote, unprotected. Now we know that the angels are around us, okay, as the scriptures say, right? That the angel of the Lord encampeth around them that feareth him and delivereth them. When two or more are together, Yahweh Shai is amongst them. We know these scriptures, and they do comfort us while we're out on the highways and hedges, because the scriptures tell us that those that seek to do harm to us, harm will be done unto them. And that's probably one of the main reasons why Esau Edom hasn't made a move on us, because he knows he can't deal with us spiritually, so he's eventually going to have to come physically. And when he does, pursuant to the scriptures and pursuant to prophecy, Yahweh Shem Shai is going to lift the standard. That spiritual power is written. Verse 16, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their king nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So they're not regarding their kings or princes, not regarding those with any kind of government title I mean, they tried to take out the president of the United States. What makes you think any other right-wing or left-wing activist with a social media platform is safe? Especially when you're going out speaking in front of masses of people with adverse ideals. You're an open target. Okay? Double so when you're not teaching the words of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay? The prophets are supposed to be out the one proclaiming the gospel and teaching and reaching the people. Anybody else, that all you're doing is just vanity, and you leave yourself an open target. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what we seen. Okay? So just as we're seeing it now, Ezra saw it beforehand when he prophesied it. The sedition. People rising against the government. Okay, breaking into each other's houses for survival. Okay? That's end time prophecy. Let's get Mark chapter 13 and 12. Mark chapter 13, verse 12. It reads, this is red letter. It says, now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. And this is found under a section of Yahweh Shai foretelling of a future destruction. Now this is in reference to 70 AD, but that can also be likened unto the great destruction that's going to happen to the Israelites here in Babylon the Great. Because a specific number has been detailed to be destroyed here, which is 2/3 of our people left in the fire. And for all other matters of judgment. Okay, 2/3 of the Israelites, 66.6%. So Yahweh Shai, okay, he warned the Israelites back then that this world will eventually crumble in its rulership. Okay? But even your own families aren't safe in this thing. Okay, even your own relatives will turn on you in that day. And you have to be prepared for that mentally, physically, spiritually. Okay, because civil unrest is everywhere. And once you start to feel it, okay, once it actually starts to hit you and affect you, then you're going to know how serious it is. Lord willing, us doing this work in truth and sincerity are protected under the hedge of Yahweh Shem Shai and given in abundance to survive, as the scriptures say. But for everyone else, that's your judgment, and you have been forewarned. Okay, what are some of the things that are happening outside of Babylon? Okay, you got the different riots in France. Okay, and I mean, even here in the States, you got different protests that are turning violent. Okay, you got people still storming government buildings, invading stores during blackouts and different disasters. Just complete opportunists. Okay? These people don't care. They only care about themselves. And it's beginning to show. And don't forget that President Trump employed the National Guard into all these cities. So the stage is already set. Okay? We're just waiting patiently. Let's get 2 Ezra 6 and 24. And it reads, at that time shall friends fight against one another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Okay, letting you know that there's going to be a famine of the word. There's going to be a famine of actual bread and water. And eventually they're going to send that quote-unquote golden ticket, that MOTB, to save the day. Not realizing that's the ultimate trap, the ultimate snare, the ultimate sin, which is a physical mark, an RFID chip. And this is going to happen in our lifetime. So you're going to have to make a conscious decision in that day. But we stand sure on our faith, especially here at Great Millstone, because the secrets of these prophecies have been revealed to us. Let's get 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 18. Actually, I'll begin at verse 17. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. These are your 15-minute cities that Esau Edom's talking about. These are your checkpoints, which they have on weekends anyway, to stop random people and check, the breathalyzers. Okay, how much easier will it be for them to just have tanks in different neighborhood exits and in different freeway rampways? Okay, verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, and shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And as we mentioned earlier, the modern day sword is the gun. So you can see this happening very easily. Okay, these people are already on edge and feel like they have nothing else to lose. And that's when people get dangerous, when they get violent, when they get desperate. And that's when we're going to call on Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai through the Spirit. Let's get Luke 21:9. This is red letter. It says, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. And this is important to institute, to help keep us confident and stable in the scriptures, and to not get too excited when we see a major event take place, because we have to temper that in the spirit and continue to remain patient. But that keeps us excited. It keeps us going. It shows that standing upon your watch is actually paying dividends. Okay, because as Apostle Dahar said, you go a couple hours in this thing without being tapped in, you miss a lot. You go a day in this thing, you got a lot of catching up to do. And videos are constantly being put out 24/7 with information. Okay, so in the times that we're entering into, we're about to experience food shortages and lockdowns. Right? People are going to be stealing from family and friends, and you're going to see that. You're going to experience it. When the economy crashes even further, okay, you're going to have brothers in this truth that are going to rob brothers, or men that you thought we were brothers, or here basically just for a free ride or for a meal. These are the things that we're about to see. These are the things that we're about to experience. Okay? So when war is everywhere, I mean, especially when you consider just in our everyday lives, we still have the tension with Ukraine and Russia. Okay, that's a war and rumor of war. You have the tension with Israel and Gaza. That's a war and rumor of war. You got China still threatening Taiwan. That's a war and rumor of war. Okay, and all this is taking place at the same time. You got the uprisings and protests, the different coups in Africa, in South America, to try to usurp authority over their destabilized governments. All this is taking place right now. Okay, so and these are the commotions that Yahweh Shai told us to fear. Okay, told us to not fear, Salakia, but watch for. And that's what we're continuing to do. Stand upon our watch and report upon the things that we see. And we're going to continue to do that until we are called off the highways and hedges, because this is our reasonable service. So Lord willing, this lesson of exhortation was edifying to the hopeful elect. I want to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect who are continuing to fight and teach this thing of ours in truth and sincerity. This has been your brother Manatazak, and until the next lesson, Shalom.